Hello and welcome to another episode of Attacking Third, a CBS Sports soccer podcast. I'm Sandra Herrera, lead NWSL writer for CBS Sports, joined today, as always, by my colleague and co-host Lisa Roman, NWSL analyst and broadcaster. On today's episode, we're going to be recapping this weekend's NWSL matches for you all. Five games with all 10 teams competing in all of the actions. The player demonstrations are also continuing this weekend. Quick reminder to you all before we get into everything, follow us on Twitter at Attacking Third. You can also head on over to our YouTube page to subscribe so you can never miss a thing whenever we post a new video, post an interview, whenever we go live, and you can catch all the great extended NWSL highlights. Head on over to youtube.com/attacking third and subscribe today. Lisa, how are you doing today? How was your weekend?
I'm good. My weekend was great, filled with NWSL, a little bit of travel here and there. I called a few of these matches, which was really fun because we had some exciting ones, some boring ones, I'm going to be honest, but I got to call one really exciting one, which is always very fun. Sandra, how are you? How was your weekend?
I'm with you on that. I had an eventful weekend, and a big part of it was dedicated to paying attention to these games. And I gotta say, we've been waiting for it, and we've been talking about it, and we've been keeping an eye on it, talking about how this playoff push is really gonna set the tone in some of these matches. And I think we really started to see that during this weekend's matches. Let's get into it. Let's start with this Saturday slate, Lisa. We had a double header. I'm really excited to talk about this first match with you. It was Orlando Pride versus New Jersey and New York Gotham FC. Gotham walking away with the win in this one. 3-2. We had a ton of goals, some really beautiful ones, some late game drama. It had it all. It felt like a playoff type of match. And Lisa, you got to call it all. Talk to me about it.
It was exciting. I mean, okay, I'm not gonna lie. The entire 90 minutes wasn't exciting. The end, very, very exciting. We actually calling the game, and between like the booth, we can like hear, or we can hear all the producers and the directors and the audio people in our ears when they like press a certain button. They were all screaming, and the last minute or so of this match, I called it alongside Michael Minnick. We were screaming in the booth, staring at each other like, what the heck is happening in this match? So exciting. 3-2, so 5 goals in this one, which was a great start to the weekend of NWSL. Just to take our listeners through a little bit of the timeline of what happened in this match. It started in the 3rd minute, which is insane. Gaëtane Thiney, she actually got the start for Gotham under Scott Parkinson. She wasn't supposed to start. Allie Long was out with her 5th red card. So Thiney got the start, and then she ended up getting her first NWSL career goal, followed by her first NWSL career brace. She got her second goal off of a set piece later in this match, but the team goals by this weekend were great, and it started with Gotham. Carly Lloyd she didn't get on the score sheet this weekend, but her influence in the game was very, very evident. Every time she touched the ball, it was progression for Gotham, moving the ball forward. Margaret Purse is the 3rd Gotham goal scorer in this match. And then really, I think the moral of the story is when you look at a team like Orlando Pride, never say never. When they have players like Sydney Leroux, Marta, Alex Morgan, even Ashlyn Harris, who frankly on the first goal, I don't really know what happened, why she didn't save it. I actually have a theory behind that. But never say never, because Sydney Leroux comes back. She's one of those players that no matter what's happening in the game, she's going to work her ass off, and she's going to get her team back into this, or at least fight until the very end to do that. And that's exactly what she does. Erica Timrack ends up scoring first for the Pride in like the 84th minute, 85th minute or so. This shot, frankly, nothing special. Kaylin Sheridan can't save it. This is where my theory comes in. The first goal, Ashlyn Harris didn't dive and didn't grab it from Tine. And then second half, Kaylin Sheridan is in that goal, and the shot from Erica Timrack is honestly nothing special, and Sheridan can't save it. It hits her gloves and then goes into the net. My theory is that there's we were talking about this in the booth, there was a sign or a light or something that both goalkeepers lost track of the ball. It was very weird. very, very weird what happened to both of those shots. Whatever, a goal is a goal. It happens. And
Yep.
then Marta scores a penalty kick. Alex Morgan drawing that penalty. Then
I
the
was gonna
final
say,
seconds, stoppage time.
I was gonna ask you, I was like,
Final second.
that penalty, what did you think? Soft, not soft, right
It was a little
call, not the
soft.
right call? Okay.
It was a little soft, but it was a call. It was a foul. It was a foul. There's another PK that happened this weekend. Very soft. Was not a foul at all. But we'll get to that. This one, yeah, I think there was a little bit of contact, and then Morgan fell. So I'm gonna say that there was contact on the play, because the other PK this weekend there was no contact. But anyway, stoppage time, final seconds of the game. Ashlyn Harris out of goal for Orlando Pride. It goes off the post. That Orlando hit like 4 posts in this match. It was freaking nuts. Maggie Doherty Howard ends up getting her 5th yellow, so she'll be out next time Orlando plays. This one was nuts, Sandra. This game was nuts.
It really just sort of felt like that type of game that had everything. Like, yeah, we're looking really closely at these games that we know are gonna have that sort of playoff feeling, that playoff environment, because certain teams are trying to make that late season push. But this one, on top of already having that energy, really did have it all. It had like really beautiful goals, wonderful team goal from Gotham. It had some maybe not so like aesthetically pleasing goals.
I think
It had
there
a
was like
penalty call that people.
NWSL after dark magic happening on some of these
It,
goals.
it,
I'm
it
not
was
gonna.
the penalty call that people like to have discourse about it. So like, hey, we welcome that energy as well. So I'm just like, wow. I'm like, this game really did kind of have a little bit of everything. But going into this game, Gotham, or excuse me, Orlando Pride, this team that just sort of feels like they were just barely hanging on, right, to this sort of playoff position that they had. They've been slipping a little bit. They've been going on a little bit of a run that has not helped them in terms of the standings. And now, after this weekend's meet, they're sort of on the outside looking in. And then for a team like Gotham, that just sort of seemed like they were like getting primed to like really set this run, getting those draws, like this sort of refuse to lose type of mentality, and then finally getting a little bit of a statement win, maybe we can call it. I think this team has had some better performances, and or not better, but some other performances that we can look at and feel that they're more complete 90-minute performances, right? But this one sort of felt like, even when they were presented with this sort of these late game scenarios that could have maybe changed some things, because we've seen it in this league. When moments get chaotic in late game moments, anything can happen. But they themselves, ended up hanging on for the win. But with Orlando hosting this game, Lisa, they were a team that did not participate in the midweek matches that took place, where we really started to see the beginning of what has been player demonstrations throughout the league. In direct response to all of the reporting that has come out around former NWSL players Sinead Farley, Manashim, Kaya McCullough, players who have spoken out, got on record in terms of abuse that they have suffered while in NWSL. And we've been seeing these really powerful moments throughout the matches taking place. And in this game, we all sort of assumed that the demonstrations would continue, because not all of the clubs were given the opportunity during those midweek matches to participate in these player demonstrations. So in Orlando, the demonstrations continued in the 6-minute play paused. They're doing this in the 6 minute to pay homage to the 6 years of silence that it took for these stories to be heard. Um, and a very special thing happened where Alex Morgan, who was a part of some of the reporting that has been coming out and shining light on these stories, um, was with Orlando, getting the start, and then also Manashim was present at this game as well to actually participate during the player demonstrations mid game. It looked at, as for those of us who were viewing it on the stream, a bit of confusion that took place with Manashim participating in this, and it looked like on the stream for us that there was a misidentification, that looks like the camera angles were incorrect when people were trying to identify Manashim. And I just wanted to see if you can enlighten us, sort of give us an insider's view of the broadcast, and what that sort of looks like when that's happening on air.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really going to sugarcoat this. It was a misidentification. That it didn't look like it. It was. How these things break down from an insider perspective, of course, is horrible, and no one involved in the broadcast or even watching the broadcast wants that to happen by any means. We did find out before, ahead of times, that Shim was going to be at the match and she was going to participate in the circle alongside Alex Morgan. That's really all the news and the information we were given. As if anyone doesn't know, we broadcast these games remotely, which is like the best kept secret, maybe in the NWSL, maybe not. So our production crew is not on site.
Yeah.
We have camera crew
And
that is
by
on
we
site.
you mean like Vista, WorldLink, and
Yes.
the crew that's putting together the games. Okay.
Yes. The producer, the director, the audio, the broadcasters, we are not on site. And so when we're calling these games, we have a camera crew that is actually on site and remote. That is, we get them freelanced through whether it's the club or the location or things like that. So they are actually on site. We do have camera crew there. So sometimes the communication between truck, you would say, which is like the producers, the directors, the audio, and camera crew isn't always there. Like getting substitutes, sometimes we don't get them until very late and it's already in the game. So this was happening. The camera crew was told to get someone in regular clothing, and that these camera crew people don't know who they're getting. And sometimes our producers and directors can't talk to the camera crew and say, wrong person. They can change the camera and they can get a different angle. So yes, mistakes were made and things like that. But ultimately, Shim did not want to be recognized and she did not want to be on camera. So us even identifying that she was at the game was okay, but not getting her on camera specifically was what she ultimately wanted and Orlando Pride wanted. That wasn't necessarily communicated to us until at a later time, but it doesn't matter. The mistake was made and it was Brittany Wilson shown on the camera. But in those moments, we have no control over what's happening and what we're seeing. That's why even separate from this situation, but camera work has been different this year where maybe a goal is missed. We miss it too. I don't get to see that either as a broadcaster. So just certain things happen that we really have no control over and mistakes are made. And I know the league wants to have very professional broadcasts, and I want to do my job as a broadcaster and be a professional. My producer wants to be a professional. My director wants to be a professional. And things happen, especially when you're not on site, that we don't always have the most control over. Of course, it needs to be better, and those mistakes need to not be made. But a lot of times they are out of our control.
Right. I appreciate you giving a little bit of insight there. I know our listeners really appreciate that whenever we get anybody, whether it's you or any of our prior guests who have come on and been able to sort of, give those perspectives in the past. So I appreciate you for kind of enlightening even myself in that. I did not know some of those things. So of course, this game ended up sort of, I think, setting the tone, I think, for the rest of the weekend, because we've got more matches that we've got to get into here. And not all of them were snoozers. A lot of them were very, very entertaining, like we've already alluded to. The second and final match to close out Saturday took place between Washington Spirit and Racing Louisville FC. Washington Spirit walking away with a very big
wait, Sandra, excuse me. Sandra, I'm so sorry. We have to fact check our listeners on who we
Oh,
picked.
Lord.
So
You're
for
gonna do
Gotham,
it.
Orlando Pride, I picked Gotham to win and you picked Orlando Pride. So 1-0 to me right now.
Oh,
Okay, you may
Lord.
continue.
We got, you know what? You're absolutely right. We got to do our due diligence. We all got jobs to do. And right now, Lisa's got one
I'm
and
winning.
I've got zero. Let's see what happened in this next one. Washington Spirit versus Racing Louisville. Let's leave with that. What were the picks in this one for you and I?
We both picked Washington.
All right, so we're we're both feeling good about this one.
Fine.
Spirit walking away 3-0 with a win on this one. Racing Louisville FC mathematically eliminated out of any type of playoff contention with their games remaining. I believe the highest level of points they could obtain would be 26 or 27, and quite frankly, that's just not enough considering the teams in front of them. So officially out of contention, and a big win for the Washington Spirit, who they themselves are still sort of playing in that sort of middle table, lower, fourth, fifth, and sixth seeded areas for playoff spots. But I think this type of win, and this is the one you were alluding to, right, with the penalties that we had, and that we're sort of looking and having those question marks. But let's not start and focus on that with the penalty. Let's talk a little bit about some of this dynamic play between the front three and the attack for Washington Spirit. When we're talking about some of the goals that took place this weekend, my goodness, Lisa, the ones in this one, it was really, really nice. And it almost was like a little bit of a friendly reminder, because we haven't seen Washington Spirit sort of play in so long. They were away for about a month, and then they finally came back into the fold and returned to play and had that very narrow win against Kansas City. And now they had this sort of statement win against Racing Louisville, and they did it with some of these beautiful goals. The rookie Trinity Rodman playing a big, big role in this one, and Ashley Hatch reminding everybody, hey, I want to still be in the running for that golden boot. Let's break it down, Lisa.
This game was very, very exciting to end off on Saturday evening. And again, it started really quick. Gotham, the scoring started in the 3rd minute. This one, Rodman, in the 8th minute, she picks off a pass. I think that's something that listeners really need to pay attention to. These forwards aren't just scoring goals and having worldies and bangers. They're also playing defense, and that's what makes up for a lot of the goal scoring opportunities. And that this was Trinity Rodman. She picks off a pass from Louisville, and this is beautiful bent ball right into the pass of Ashley Hatch. It was beautiful, and this gives Ashley Hatch 8 goals on the season. But that's not the only combo goal we saw from Rodman and Hatch. It was just really, really impressive for them. But the defensive work from Rodman really was all worth it, and Hatch just making sure that she found the back of the net. There was a penalty kick in this match. It was called for Ashley Sanchez and Mira Montez for Racing Louisville in the box. I'm just going to say it here. Ashley Sanchez did not get touched. She fell in the box, and there was a defender within 3 feet of her, and the penalty kick was called. Now, that's just what I'm going to say. Sandra, did you think it was a penalty kick?
Listen,
did you think it was a foul?
I think listen, sometimes things happen in this league, and no matter what it is, right or wrong, there's always discourse around it. But I am with you in the camp that I think that it was definitely questionable, at least, and that's putting it nicely. Also, the way this game was going, quite frankly, unnecessary for the Spirit. I think they probably would have found another one, and we saw it develop that way and play out. But Andy Sullivan, again,
it wasn't a game changer.
No, not in any sense. But Andy Sullivan has sort of appears to be the one when it comes to these moments, these penalty kick moments for the Spirit. This is not her second penalty kick conversion for this team. So the defensive midfielder, the captain, stepping up to the point and slotting it away and converting it. But even without that sort of questionable scenario for the team, I think it was it just sort of felt like another one of those big wins, all things considered, the opposition that they were facing. I think you look at something on paper and you take a look at the team in front of you and you sort of see how they're mathematically eliminated. Maybe there's not a ton there to play for. Maybe the energy is different, right, when you're going up against a team like that. But it's a little unfair when we talk about this league being one of the most competitive in the world, that anything can happen on any given match day. And Washington Spirit came away with a really full, complete performance, and that offense sort of looking like that very impressive offense, that attack that we were looking at and keeping an eye on really during those summer months, during those Olympic stretches of time in the season. And it got away from them a little bit. But if they can keep this going into these final 3 weeks or so and ride that into the playoffs, they're going to be a very dangerous team to contend with. We've got 3 more
They
matches to get through, Lisa.
They will be. They will be. In this one, just some facts as we head into more midweek matches coming up. Savannah McCaskill, she got her 5th yellow card, so she'll be out coming up. And Hatch got a 2nd goal in this one, so that's 2 braces already in 2 matches from Thiney for Gotham, and then Hatch gets her 2nd one. So Hatch now number 9, and at this point, she's tied with Beth. Like at this point in the weekend, after this Washington game, Ashley Hatch is tied with Bethany Balser as the Golden Boot leader. And Portland, after these 2 matches, secured a playoff spot. After
they
both
did.
of these
They didn't
results.
have to play yet on Saturday. They still
They
with the
didn't.
results on Saturday.
They already secured. The only way Portland wasn't going to secure was if Gotham Orlando tied. So even after that game, it was pretty obvious that Portland had secured, but that's how Saturday ended, with 2 braces for both games and Portland's clinching a playoff spot.
We do love NWSL math. Let's think about it some more. We'll get into the triple header of matches on Sunday right now after a quick break. Sunday triple header. Lisa, we do love a triple header on Sunday. 3 matches to get through. Let's start it with Kansas City NWSL hosting Portland Thorns FC. Portland Thorns walking into this one. If memory serves me correctly, Lisa, we both picked the Thorns.
We did both pick Portland for this
And
one, and we are both losers.
We're both losers in this one. A 0-0 draw for these 2 teams. Gotta say, there's obviously a lot that's happening in the league right now off the pitch that is very much impacting things that are happening on the pitch. It's tough to play in these games right now for a lot of these players that we've been hearing post game directly from these players, alluding and stating as such. But the Portland Thorns are now winless in their last 3 matches. And this is a 0-0 draw. So not a loss. Maybe that's the silver lining here if you're sort of looking at it on the Thorns side of things, sort of getting a result versus letting walking away with a loss. But honestly, maybe the same for Kansas City as well. This is a team that's also been eliminated from any type of playoff contention for quite some time. But they have had their perspective on 2022, wanting to sort of close out their season and end out their 2021 with positive things to take a look at and carry that momentum into the 2022 season. But the split points for Portland gave them a small bump, and it keeps them in first place out of this weekend, but just not enough there, really. A little bit of, I don't know if we want to allude to it as questionable finishing, right? Because we've seen that from this Thorns team. We've seen this type of Thorns team be able to create chances, generate attack, and then maybe walk away with very slim score lines. We're talking multiple shot stats, but 1 goal, right? So maybe sort of feels a little bit like that came into play on this one. And obviously, midweek matches, quick turns around, all of the fatigue on the leg, that stuff comes into play as well. So I'm not gonna like hyper contextualize or harp in on individual performances, all things considered. But in terms of walking away with the result, I think going from 2 losses and picking up and then going to a match where you at least walk away with a point is a little bit of progress for this team right now.
It is. And I think that Kansas City did what Kansas City wanted to do in this match, and that's disrupt the playoffs. That's Hugh Williams told us that. I got to speak with him before this match, and he said, we're out of this, but we can still play puppeteer almost. Because they have games coming up, and for Kansas City, they still want to play. They still have things to work on and to get better. And Hugh Williams said that he wants to use these next few matches that Kansas City has to get better as a team and to focus on things that they've been working on in training and use those moments to get better. It was a bit of a weird game, I'm going to say. Like the chances and the scoring opportunities weren't really there. I think Sophia Smith looked a little tired. They've been traveling a lot. She played majority of the minutes just Wednesday, a few days ago. So that might have something to do with it. Christine Sinclair, we don't see this very often. She missed her penalty kick, hit it off the post. That they had an opportunity. Actually, Kansas City was the first one to have their opportunity. Kristen Hamilton had a beautiful ball in and over the top and just going in between the Portland back line. She actually ends up tripping Becky Sauerbrunn right outside of the 18. She does score the goal, but it gets called back. The foul is called right at the top of the box and it comes out. So I think that would have been a game changer if that goal counted. The game would have looked completely different. But then late in the second half, around like the 85th minute or so, Christine Sinclair has a penalty kick going against AD Franch, the former Thorns goalkeeper that Portland knows so well. And Sinclair misses. I don't know. I have theories on this one too. Obviously Franch and Sinclair know each other very well. They practiced penalty kicks while they were both on the Thorns team. Did Sinclair switch up her way, which way she was going? So Franch dove to the right, Franch is left. And if Sinclair usually goes right, did she try to go left and that's why she missed? Like Christine Sinclair doesn't miss penalty kicks.
No, you could see how gutted she was after that too. It just sort of felt like that was the moment, right?
Yeah.
For them to try to change it up and switch up the game and really steal all that momentum. But possibly, I mean, AD Franch with the complete opposite way, and then it ended up being the post that saved the day. So it's a little bit of a, how lacking was the attack for Portland versus how big of a performance from Adriana Franch in this one, right? It's a little bit of a tale of two teams for sure. Let's circle in a little bit on this next match with Houston Dash versus North Carolina Courage. A huge win for the Dash in a number of ways. They're climbing the table. It feels like game after game after game that they have. And then not only that, they put it on the North Carolina Courage, a 4-1 win for the Dash in this one. And they are now set in third place. They kind of, were going into this one sitting middle of the table, and now they're in the top three with this one. And a huge performance from Rachel Daly, bagging another brace in this one. It's a theme this weekend with certain players picking up a brace or doubles here and there. And then another really big performance from Bri Visalli, somebody who's really been turning things on for this Dash team after kind of being out of the mix, quite frankly. We have seen Bri Visalli be absent from these starting 11s for quite some time. And now she's finding herself with the opportunity during this very crucial time of the season to really make a statement and make an impact for this Dash team. And she did it in this one against a really big opponent. 4-1 for Houston, another big game for Rachel Daly. It sort of feels like there's a couple of teams that are maybe sort of standing out a little bit in this one, Lisa, that they're kind of becoming and hitting this really they're hitting their stride and they're becoming these really top in-form teams. And Houston Dash, for me, sort of feels like it's one of these teams. I think I had the Dash in this one for our picks. Did I not, Lisa?
Yeah, you did, Sandra. You had Houston winning. I had this one marked as a draw.
I'll take it.
Fine. So right now we're tied 1-1. So this match was something about all of the matches this weekend. You can tell by the scoring in them. There was a lot of goals throughout all of these, except for Kansas City, Portland. But because these teams didn't waste any time getting into this match, first goal for North Carolina, Jess McDonald, comes in the 4th minute. Really, really quick. And I think that's also something to take note of, that the Courage got on the board first in this one, even though Houston was in the attack the entire first half. Really just so much pressure on the Courage's back line. And there was a lot of mistakes from North Carolina Courage's back line based on what they did. And that's not taking away anything that Houston's attack did, because they were on fire. This was Rachel Daly's night. She was just all over the place, but you're right. Bri Visalli, she had a fantastic great game. She ended with a goal and assist. Rachel Daly ends with a brace. That's our 3rd brace of the weekend so far in succession, with Thiney Ashley Hatch, and now Rachel Daly getting a brace in this one. So Rachel Daly ends with 9 goals. So at this point, there's a 3-way tie for Golden Boot leader with Bethany Balser, Ashley Hatch, and Rachel Daly all at 9 goals. Shea Groom actually notched a goal in this one, a header. Really, the goals for Houston were fantastic. All of them were just really world-class goals. They deserved every single one of them. This was a fun match. If you didn't get a chance to watch this one, I suggest you go back. You can rewatch matches on Paramount Plus, and you can catch all the highlights on Attacking Third's YouTube page, youtube.com/Attacking Third. This one, Houston and North Carolina, go back and watch it. It was very entertaining.
Bangers all night. Take a look at it if you all get a chance and you missed it. Final one of the weekend, Lisa. It was OL Reign versus Chicago Red Stars. Talking about top tier teams who are in form right now. OL Reign, absolutely, probably, arguably, maybe, I'm sure people will find discourse in all places, but I think for us here in Attacking Third, arguably the hottest team in the league right now, picking up results left and right, wins primarily, finding a way to get these type of goals that we just know are going to end up on constant highlight reels. And that happened again for this team on this day against Chicago Red Stars. They hosted the Red Stars at Cheney Stadium, and they went down early in this one. We're talking about maybe a similar scenario with Houston and North Carolina, kind of echoing things a little bit in this Reign and Red Stars game. But Mal Pugh getting on the scoreboard early for Chicago. Good to see that happen. We talk a lot about that particular player week in and week out, constantly doing the work, really getting involved in the attack, but maybe not necessarily able to get the goals, but picking up the assists for the team. And in this one, she was able to open up the goal scoring early, but that quickly turned for the Red Stars as OL Reign really kind of took things over in the midfield for sure, and just sort of played this very, very direct type of attacking style, and quickly found the lead and got it back ahead of halftime against the Chicago Red Stars. A banger from Jess Fishlock. Again, while we're touting and plugging the Attacking Third YouTube, you could catch those highlights. And if you are going to catch them, try to catch this match. There were some great goals in this one, y'all. Really great stuff. Lisa, what were some of your takes in this one?
So I'm genuinely pleasantly surprised at how fast Kaylee Watt is on the goal that Mallory Pugh had for Chicago to open up the scoring. Mallory Pugh does a move that only really fast soccer players can do. You kick it to the right of a defender and you run around the left side of them. Like, there's so many players that can't do this because defenders, they have a step. They have like 2 or 3 steps on you to get to the ball. Watt did this to get around the OL Reign defender, and she looked so fast. I was just so impressed, pleasantly surprised by Kaylee Watt. And then she sets up the ball for Pugh. I think it's very fitting that Mallory Pugh gets a goal in this one, and a pretty good goal. I don't understand why Huerta didn't step to Pugh. Pugh can shoot the ball from distance and strike it well, and that's what she did. She punished Huerta, the defender, for not stepping and closing down that space, but man, Jess Fishlock, she ends with a brace in this match. So that's now our 4th brace of the weekend in 5 matches. There is something that these NWSL players are trying to prove, that they can score goals, that they can be entertaining, that they just want to have fun on the pitch. And that's exactly what they're doing. Rose Lavelle, she had a left-footed banger as well. That was really, really good. OL Reign had a beautiful team goal in this one as well from Fishlock. She sends it out wide to Huerta. Huerta sends it in, and Fishlock gets her header. That's her 2nd goal on the night. I think that the play for these players when they're on the pitch, especially this weekend, after everything that's happened in the league and all the news that has come out, just everything, it's heavy and it's really emotional. And we saw moments throughout this weekend and in this OL Reign game where there was light. There is a lot of joy for these players to just be playing a game and be happy to be out there. And I want the players to be able to have that every single day when they show up to work, not just when they're scoring ridiculous bangers and having a great game. But I think that the players played for each other this weekend.
Yeah, we got to see the continuation of that for sure. OL Reign and Chicago Red Stars, again, two of the other teams who were unable to participate in the midweek matches that started the player demonstrations and continued this weekend. And these two teams also got to finally participate in the player demonstrations during the 6 minute. And it was, again, it just echoes what all the other demonstrations and all the other games have done. It was just a very powerful and very emotional moment. We are watching this happen in real time, and we see the fans in the stands also participating in these moments with the players as well. And we definitely have to take a moment here before we exit out of the show to absolutely commend the players, not only for doing these demonstrations but making themselves available in these post-game media sessions, which are typically a place to sort of get quick reaction from the game that just occurs. But they have all been so amazing in their time that they spend with the media, discussing the things that are currently ongoing and discussing their feelings around things. And it has been difficult for them to do that, as they have alluded to in these media sessions. And that echoed the same for this weekend as well, on top of the midweek matches that occurred. So a lot of great things that are coming out of these games, even if it is just moments of solidarity and playing for each other and, playing the sport that they love. So we will take a look at these standings really quickly for you all, just to keep you all updated before we exit the show. As of now, things are, surprise, surprise, still as narrow as ever, everybody. Portland Thorns FC are still in first place. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, Sandra, I was just gonna say that for our last picks for the Reign game, I had Reign and you had a draw. So for everyone listening, I won this weekend. I had 3 picks right, and Sandra only had 2.
So there's
Okay,
so there's
continue with
5
the
games.
standings. Thank you.
There's 5 games, and Attacking Third has C and D students. So congratulations to all of us here on the show.
Don't tell our bosses. Don't tell our bosses.
Fantastic. You love to see it. The standings. First place, Portland Thorns, 39 points. Number 2, OL Reign with 38 points. Y'all, the NWSL Shield is cooking up, and it's going to come to a real head-to-head. Stay tuned. Number 3, Houston Dash, 32 points. Number 4, North Carolina with 32 points. 5th place, Washington Spirit with 30 points. And in 6th place, this New York Gotham FC with 29 points. On the outside looking in now, in 7th place is Chicago Red Stars with 29 points. In 8th place, Orlando Pride with 28 points. In 9th place, Racing Louisville with 17 points. And Kansas City NWSL in 10th place with 12 points. Things are going to change once again. There will be midweek matches coming up, games that were temporarily paused and postponed for the mental health of the players in light of all of the ongoing reporting that has been taking place, have been rescheduled, and they will be taking place on October the 13th. The majority of them are, at least 4 games are. There will be a 5th game that will be taking place at the end of the month in October. So stay tuned with us. We will keep everybody updated on all of the NWSL action coming up. I want to thank everybody for listening, as always. Please follow us on Twitter at Attacking Third. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere you listen to your podcast show. If you leave us a 5-star review with a question, Lisa and I will answer it as part of our mailbag segment. We're also available as video, so please subscribe to us on YouTube. Visit youtube.com/Attacking Third. And we will be back Tuesday with a midweek preview of matches for you all. For Sandra Herrera and Lisa Roman, this was Attacking Third.